Well, it's 1987, and it's early summer. And I have just graduated from the architecture program at the Graduate School of Design over here in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I am really excited to get my career going. And that meant moving back to New York and going to work for one of the big, fancy global architecture firms that were building skyscrapers all over the world. That was my dream. And to that end, I had even taken a job with a Boston branch office of one of those firms, hoping to get entree down to New York when the time came, but that wasn't working out just yet. This being 1987, it was also the height of the AIDS crisis, and it was scary to be gay at that moment. I had been closeted my whole life, and I had just begun to go out into the world to begin looking for Mr. Right. And one of those nights, I met a tall, dark, handsome man from Chicago. There were sparks, and something clicked. And I was excited about it, but he was staying in Boston, and I was moving to New York, so I figured there was no real future there. Back in my apartment, I waited for the calls to get job offers, and they weren't coming. When one morning, finally, I got a call from the New York office with an offer to come down to New York. They had a position that might be right for me. I was incredibly excited. Come down right away, Friday. They sent a car, they flew me down. There was even a black car to pick me up at the airport and take me into New York to 42nd Street, to their offices in the Daily News building, a beautiful Art Deco building, which you may recognize from Superman. There's a globe spinning in the lobby. It was the Daily Planet in all those movies. And walking into that lobby, I felt like Superman. I had my bow tie on, had my portfolio, I was ready for this opportunity. I was incredibly excited. I went upstairs, had a great day. They told me how terrific I was and what a great career I was gonna have, and at the end of the day, they offered me a job, gave me the weekend to think about it. Well, it was a Friday afternoon in New York in the summer, and there was a big line of thunderstorms coming through, and everyone was desperate to get out as quickly as possible. There was not a cab to be had, and I needed a cab back to the airport. Finally, the secretary, all excited, found a cab, and she said, "Oh, we've got one. You gotta go down right away. I hope you don't mind, you're gonna be sharing it with somebody." I said, "No, of course not. I'm happy to get into a cab with anybody." So I go rushing downstairs, and there's a man standing there impatiently on the street, tapping his foot. Very handsome guy with dark glasses, a beautiful suit. And he was the very picture of the person that I hoped to be 20, 30 years down the line. He wasn't very friendly, though, and it was clear this was going to be a quiet cab ride. We got in, and he didn't say anything at all, and we drove away. By the time we got to the expressway, it was pouring. I mean pouring. And we were in an old checker cab, which sounds like a tin can, so the sound on the top of the cab was so loud that you could barely hear yourself think. And then the cab came to a complete stop, as did the traffic, and we were sitting there. And it was clear we were going to be there for a while. And this man turned to me with a little bit of attitude, and he said, "All right, so who are you?" "Well, I'm David Hacin, and I just graduated from the GSD, and I've been working in your Boston office, and I came down here, and I just got a job offer, and I'm so excited," and yada, 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 yada. I finally stopped talking, and the man put his head in his hands and started to cry. A little bit at first, and then really sobbing. And he turns to me and he says, "Don't take it." And I'm like, don't take it? Well, why not? "Don't take the job. Trust me. They will tell you anything you want to hear for you to accept the position. They will work you like a dog for decades. And then when it's your turn, they're going to throw you away. I'm telling you, trust me, don't take it. And at that point, he wiped away some tears, turned away from me, and I knew the conversation was over. We eventually made it to the marine terminal at LaGuardia, and this tall, handsome man in the suit, whose name I did not know, disappeared into a crowd like a ghost, and I would never see him or speak to him again. I got on that plane, and when we came into Logan Airport, I looked out the window, and the clouds had parted, and the sun was streaming through and hitting the Boston skyline. Looked so incredibly beautiful. And I thought, this is a sign. Someone is sending me a sign that maybe I should give that guy that I met in the bar another call, that maybe I should give this city, which I actually liked quite a bit, another chance. And then we landed. And on that Monday, I turned down the job. It's 40 years later now, almost 40 years. And the man that I met in the bar is sitting right over there. He's my husband. And the love of my life. I never really had to work for another company for very long because I started my own company. And 32 years later, I've built an incredible team. We've done great work. I'm so proud of them and of us. And instead of doing projects in communities that I couldn't possibly understand, I chose to work in the town that I live in, building my own community, and eventually, it takes a while, eventually becoming a Bostonian. I would find out years later who that man was and how he had worked very, very hard for a promised partnership that had been denied to him literally moments before he got into that taxi cab with me. Hardly a day goes by that I don't think about how lucky I am that that line of storms blew through New York that Friday afternoon, because getting into that taxi cab with that man was the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you.